Lino printing tutorial. Here's a list of resources needed for this tutorial.
I'm going to be showing you how to create a lino cut print. Before you get to that stage, you need to come up with a design. So one idea for a design might be that you take your portrait drawing from previous lesson and use a piece of tracing paper the same size as your lino to find a good view of your portrait. Lino cut printing tend to be very stylized and focused on line, so we're not going to trace the portrait as we see it with lots of tone and shading. We're going to trace the outlines of the features in a simplistic way, just focusing on shape and line. Now from this design you need to work out what areas you want to see from your print and what areas you don't want to see. You need to work out the positive and the negative areas. Once you're happy with your design, you'll need your piece of lino. You need to flip your design on tracing paper. And then to transfer the image, you just need to apply some pressure over the marks of your tracing paper. Your design should then be revealed onto your lino and you're ready to start cutting. To begin cutting out your lino, you're going to need a lino cutting tool. So these tools can be purchased from any art store and they come with a selection of different size blades. So you'll notice that the blades all have different numbers on them. All the blades are very different, so some of them are a lot wider, whereas some are quite close together. Depending on your size of line that you're going to be cutting out, you need to make that selection. So I'm going to start with this blade. And I'm also, for health and safety reasons, I'm going to be using a bench hook. So I have this small bench hook here. It's just a handmade one. You can perhaps make one or purchase one from any DIY shop. And that is just to keep you safe. So when you put your lino onto the bench hook, you need to make sure that your supporting hand is behind your cutting hand at all times. If it is in the way, you are likely to gain an injury, so make sure that you are working in a safe way. You can then move the lino to suit your cutting methods rather than moving yourself around. Okay, so once you're happy with your work setup, you can begin cutting into your design. When you cut with the lino cutting tool, you need to try to keep your tool as flat as you can. If you try to cut vertically, you're going to find that you end up with a hole in your lino. If you do get a hole in your lino, it doesn't matter too much, but if you continue to do that and you get quite a lot of holes, it's going to make your lino very fragile, so you want to avoid doing that. You then also need to make sure that you're not actually cutting all the way down, but your marks do need to be fairly deep. When you apply the ink, if they're not deep enough, those areas will show on your print. But this is a brilliant method for experimentation, and you can always work back into it once you've finished making a print or two. Okay, you're now ready to start printing. I'm going to show you how to create a print from your cut lino. So you're ready with your lino, your design's cut out, and you're ready to go. You're going to need a brayer or a roller and a palette. So any plastic flat surface is fine. It might be a Tupperware lid or a palette from an art shop, anything's fine. Ideally with printing you need to use block printing ink. If you don't have this, you can have a go at just experimenting with acrylic paint and see if that works for you. Today I'm going to be using block printing ink, so I'm just going to apply a small amount to my palette and then roll it out nice and evenly until I hear a sticky noise. Okay, once I'm happy with that, I'm going to start to apply the ink very carefully and evenly to my lino, making sure that I go all the way to the corners. Okay, once you're happy that your ink is applied evenly, you need to find yourself a piece of paper. In this instance, because I'm using an A6 size piece of lino, I'm going to use a piece of A5 paper, and then try to position it as central as you can, but it doesn't matter too much because you can always crop your print if you need to. Then using a fist, make a fist, and then use the flat of your hand in circular motions over the back of your print. This is going to help lift up the ink from the plates or from the lino. And then peel back and reveal your print. Okay, at this stage you can see your design nice and clearly, and this is a really great method for improving your work. So at this stage I probably wouldn't create more prints like this. From this image I can see that I would like to add more detail, so I can now cut back into my lino and add more detail. Once you're happy that you've added more detail, you can give it another go. So make sure you've got enough block printing ink on your palette. Roll it out with your brayer so you get that nice sticky noise, and then apply some more ink to your lino. Place your paper over the top again. And then reveal your print. You could compare it to your previous and then see if there's anything else you'd like to change or adapt. Add in any more detail anywhere, perhaps change the size of the blade that you're using to get some contrast in line size. And then from this stage we're going to experiment with different papers. So I've chosen some brown paper, which you can buy in any post office or art shop. And some sugar paper. Again, most art shops will supply that. And I've also got book pages. And this is just a really fun like process for experimentation, because it sort of just takes you naturally and you can work out what works, what doesn't work. It's just a very natural progression. I'm going to give it a go with my brown paper.